Okay, well, we might have ourselves a final series here. Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, they figured out a way to make this a series. Pretty sure everybody crossed them off coming into the series. No Bam, no Goran. That's as good of a funky diabetic impression as I can do. I felt like the title sounded like one of his videos, and we went for it. Anyway, welcome back, everybody. My name is Tucker, and in today's video, we're of course going to be talking about the NBA Finals in Game 3 that happened last night. All of the different things that went into a very surprising Miami Heat win, how that impacts the series moving forward, and what this means not only for this final series, but for the NBA in general, and what to this point has been a very uninteresting final series, and whether or not we think that this is actually going to become a competitive series, or if it's just going to be the Lakers in 5. But really quickly before we get started, if you enjoy content like this, then leaving a like rating is a great way to let me know. You can also subscribe to the channel. That way you are kept up with every single time that I upload a video, which is basically every single day. And also, I can almost promise you that by the time you're watching this video, I'm live over on Twitch. We're talking about the finals. We're talking about all kinds of stuff while I'm playing some Warzone. Come hang out. It's been a ton of fun, and I hope to see you there. With that said, let's go and get started. Okay, so for those of you that follow me on Twitter, you probably saw that I was a little bit upset with the Miami Heat after Game 2. It felt like a must-win game. It felt like a game where they had to put everything on the line. They had opportunities to win Game 2, specifically at the beginning of the fourth quarter when the Lakers went cold shooting from the floor, and I just didn't feel like the energy and the effort, specifically defensively and rebounding-wise, was there for the Heat. They had a really good offensive third quarter to get them back into that game, and they just didn't take advantage of those opportunities, and without Bam Adebayo and without Goran Dragic, they needed to be much, much better in order to win Game 2. And then Game 3 starts very similarly to how Game 1 started, although obviously the personnel was different. The Heat were playing great defense. They were hitting a lot of shots, and they were being helped out by the fact that the Lakers were just not locked in at all to begin Game 3. I think they had 8 or 9 turnovers in the first quarter. AD picked up a couple of fouls, and it became clear that, okay, this is at least going to be a semi-competitive game. And then the Lakers had already cut the deficit to 3 by the end of the first quarter. And I honestly thought the game and the finals were over at that point. When they were able to cut that lead to 3 after how poorly they played in the first quarter, I thought the series was over. However, Jimmy Butler had other ideas, and I think that is where we have to start when we're breaking down this game and taking a look at kind of what happened last night. So Jimmy Butler had been making a lot of statements in the media about how, you know what we have to do. We just have to play harder. All we have to do is get one, and then things can change. He said before the game that if they get one, maybe they could do something. And a lot of players say stuff like that, but Jimmy Butler backed it up last night and was clearly much more aggressive offensively, getting to the rim, hitting those mid-range jump shots. I don't even think he attempted a 3, got to the free throw line a ton, and made a couple of mistakes on his drives to the rims in terms of his decision-making and making a pass when he should have shot a relatively contested layup, but for the most part was incredible. He was great on the glass, great as a playmaker. The 3 minutes that he sat, the team looked awful. It was clear how much better they were when he was on the floor, which is obvious at this point given their personnel, but the contrast between him in and out of the lineup was pretty crazy. And honestly, it's one of the greatest finals performances of the last 10 or 15 years. When you consider the situation, when you consider the personnel, the Heat have to win this game or the series is over. And for him to pull out that kind of performance was pretty incredible. And honestly, when you're looking at it in comparison to someone like LeBron James, completely outplayed him. LeBron didn't have a great game. He didn't shoot the ball particularly well, got to the rim a couple of times and had some nice finishes, but especially down the stretch in the fourth quarter, turnovers became an issue. And honestly, when you look at his performance, it's pretty similar to how the whole team really approached the game for the Lakers. They were lackadaisical. They didn't take it seriously. Their body language wasn't there. And Anthony Davis pretty much disappeared, pretty much a no-show in what is basically a clinching game of the NBA Finals in Game 3. If they win that game, the Heat aren't coming back. And both LeBron and AD honestly didn't play well. Their bench played incredibly well, especially in terms of shot making. Morris and Kuzma both had 18 or 19 points. Their bench scored extremely well, which is not typical for this Lakers team. And I mean, the two big guys just didn't show up. And yeah, Anthony Davis had some foul trouble issues. And I see all kinds of stuff on Twitter that I know I should ignore, but still gets under my skin about how, the refs were on the Heat side. The NBA wanted to extend the series. AD had all these ticky-tack fouls. I'm trying to watch myself. I don't care. I don't care if Anthony Davis had this many fouls or if you disagree with 1 or 2 fouls. The Heat are playing without 2 of their 3 best players. You got to win that basketball game. I don't care if Anthony Davis goes out there and sprains his ankle and doesn't play the rest of the game. The Lakers are still a better team. They need to win this basketball game. They need to bring more energy and effort. They didn't lose the game because of Anthony Davis foul trouble, and the minutes that he was on the floor, it didn't even look like he was really being all that impactful anyway. So today, I don't want to hear anything about how the Heat got all these calls. The Heat were the more aggressive team, and generally, the more aggressive team gets foul calls, and that's exactly exactly what happened last night. Did Jimmy Butler maybe get a few foul calls at the rim that he shouldn't have gotten? Maybe. LeBron got a few calls at the rim that maybe he shouldn't have gotten. Anthony Davis needs to be smarter defensively, and even if he isn't smarter defensively and he ends up with 4 fouls relatively quickly, the Lakers have to win that game. Plain and simple. I don't want to hear any referee excuses today. And so now as we look at everything moving forward, this is obviously huge for the league to have a competitive final series. First of all, it's been such a fun bubble, even though it's a weird experience in terms of the basketball, in terms of the performances. We've had so many huge games. We've had so many interesting storylines with the Nuggets making multiple comebacks, the Clippers collapse. It would have been so disappointing to end the finals in a sweep, and it still might be a 5-game series, but the Heat have at least made this relatively interesting, and they did it by having an outstanding game from Jimmy Butler with shot making, with great defense, with rebounding from the entire team, and maybe they've made themselves a series here. I mean, Bam Adebayo, it seems like, is the one that's more likely to come back in these games. Hopefully he's able to play in game 4, which would be huge for the Heat, because the fact that Kelly Olynyk keeps having to play like 30 plus minutes, it's like he has to score 20 a game for it to be worth it to him to be on the court, because he doesn't do a whole lot else other than shoot the basketball and, you know, have some nice slips to the rim and finish and things like that. So having Bam out there and then allowing Kelly Olynyk to be that offensive spark plug off the bench rather than, like, you know, playing starter level minutes at the 5 would be a huge boost for this team. And if the two teams play the way they did in game 3 with Bam back, the Heat can absolutely make this a series. They need to win game 4, tie things up, because they're going to get progressively better and healthier as the series goes along, and the pressure is going to continue to increase on the Lakers as we go along. In terms of a prediction, based off what I saw last night, I don't see any way that the Heat don't end up with at least one more of these games, whether it's game 4 or game 5, and push this to a 6-game series, which leads me to stick with my original prediction, which was the Lakers in 6 games. But they've certainly made things much more interesting, and thankfully so. I was so disappointed after game 2 because I felt like that was the Heat's opportunity to even the series. They had opportunities at the beginning of that 4th quarter, and they just couldn't capitalize on them. And so then for them to turn around and have this huge game 3, have the opportunity to tie the series up at 2 apiece in game 4, I'm excited, man. I really think that this could end up being a much more interesting and competitive final series than we thought, and that's as a result of a great performance last night by Jimmy Butler and by the Miami Heat as a team. I don't want to take anything away from the team as a whole by just giving all the credit to Jimmy Butler. Tyler Hero made some huge shots in the 4th quarter to bring them back in this game. Other guys played great defense, and the Lakers had some guys play well, just their top 2 guys just weren't there. They just didn't have it. And they certainly can still win this series pretty handily in 5 games. They've appeared to be the better team, even when both teams are fully healthy. But momentum is a huge thing, and we'll see what happens in game 4. And yeah, there you have it. That is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you all very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.